10 session, we're sort of getting into the meat of this thing here. Today we're going to pick up where we left off last time, if my memory still can summon up that information. I'm going to look at some things now, in particular how anger, the mismanagement of anger, impacts on certain critical relationships. After all of us are in some type of human relationship. It's either with our co-workers or our parents or our brothers and our sisters, our wives, our spouses, our lover, etc. So now we want to look and explore these relationships with all the knowledge you've gained now. We should be able to come away with some kind of effective strategies. And remember, the simple acquisition of knowledge is not equal to power. It is the ability to apply knowledge that is equal to power. And so you have to make that distinction, because very often we have simply become sponges where we just accumulate information, and the illusion is that once we accumulate a certain amount of information, then pop, we will transform. Folks, it does not work like that. My own teacher said that an ounce of practice is worth more than a ton of theory. And the outcome, you will find it in your life. If the quality of your life is not going up and the misery and suffering is going down, then you're not applying anything that we've been talking about. Okay? And my whole task, of course, is to continually harass you to do homework. So we'll talk about a couple of those things throughout this particular session. But I want to begin with an examination of homework. Did somebody do some homework? Oh, we got, oh, good. We got a lot of homework in here. How many was working with their Vispasana? With the counter. You work with the counter, you work with the counter. We got 4 people who are serious about transforming themselves, and the other ones are serious too. They just haven't begun to apply the knowledge yet. So let's talk to the people with some power first. Sandra, let's begin. Tell me about your homework with the Vispasana.
Well, I was tracking all the negative feelings and thoughts that I had.
All right.
Total negative. And
like what were some of the feelings?
You know, when I feel inferior or
inferiority, you attract.
Right. In terms of relationships.
Relationships, everything like that. All right. Tell me, on day 1,
well,
what was your experience?
That was Sunday.
Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday. You started off Saturday?
I started off Saturday night.
All right. Let's draw a bar graph here. All right. And this is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What day did you stop?
I stopped on Thursday.
All right. Just as we chicken. All right. What was your first count out?
17.
So let's make this about 17. All right. So you started up here. What was on Sunday? Where did you go to?
5.
5. All right. So you went to 5. Where did you go Monday?
8.
Okay. And where did you go Tuesday?
It was about the same.
About 8. What about Wednesday?
5.
And Thursday, the last day?
And then it was like, it wasn't hardly anything, 1 or 2.
So what you experienced here, that as the number of clicks dropped, actually the awareness was increasing with it. Right? Your self-awareness was increasing. Remember, you have to do this self-observation. You have to observe yourself. These are equivalent phenomena. Self-awareness and self-observation are the same phenomena. And what is happening to her, she started off with a high count, right? And she's watching the feelings, she's watching the feelings, just making a note of them. And you were noting how they were impacting on you physically. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Where was this? Can you share with us some of the places where this stuff was hidden?
Stomach.
Yes, a lot of it is in the stomach.
Right.
You'll find it right here in this chakra.
But you know, that 17 was done in a matter of 2 hours,
Yeah.
2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours, yeah. Yeah. Because there wasn't much awareness. You probably missed some
Right.
of that. You know what I mean? But as you become more and more watchful, right, you became more and more of a witness. And remember, the whole point is that you have to observe yourself. The whole key to transformation is the building of self-awareness. There is no other process. All yoga, all various forms of spiritual practices has one aim, the increase of one's self-awareness. And in that increase of one's self-awareness, the awareness becomes so powerful that now the control is reestablished. Did you start getting a sense of that, seeing this thing? Did you start finding that you weren't falling so much into the despair no more?
I was like catching myself.
You were catching yourself long before you could fall into that stuff, giving yourself all kinds of relief that you probably would have never ever had again.
And I think from the 17, once I would have a negative thought, there would just be kind of like a ripple effect of it. So then I was counting more times,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
But then the ripple effect kind of was eliminated when I would catch myself doing it.
What you were doing, you were breaking the pattern of your thinking.
Right.
The technical term for that is vasana. Vasana, for those of you that study yoga, is the actual pattern, the mental pattern that your thinking has taken. Like thinking creates a groove. You remember on the old records, and after you play that record so long, how that record get a groove in it, and sometimes that groove will get so deep that once it hits that groove, you can't even play the rest of the record. It won't even go beyond it. It just becomes repetitious. Similarly, when this vasana, this groove is hit, very often our life reaches a certain point and no more. And then what you start seeing, that everything you do start coming out the same way. You're changing on the peripheral, but your outcome is remaining absolutely unchanged. Unchanged. You're only able to go so far and no further because you can't get past that groove. It is awareness that can break these vasana, these mental habits, these patterns that have become habituated from years and years and years of our constant thinking along a certain line. Whether that was kutaka, vitaka, taka, or whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that we all have this established mental pattern that limits us. Anything else that you was want to share with us that struck you as being rather interesting? We'll give everybody a chance.
Not really.
All right, but the point is that you were able to catch yourself from going way out on that limb and give yourself some relief. And you begin to become like a flame. This is what Jesus called it, turning on that little light, the light of consciousness, and you let it shine. Our own teacher used to say that you have to understand that this mind is much like children who have been left alone without any parents in the house. And you know when you leave your children in the house and there's no parent there, they're going to tear up everything. You know, I know we did, right? So, I mean, all the food is going to be eaten. No work is going to get done. There'll be a lot of playing. I mean, it's going to be just a mess. Well, it's like that when you are not aware. The moment you become unawares of your own mental behaviors, chaos sets in, and you are no longer master of the house. And so hence, in the mythology and symbolism of spirituality, they talk about the necessity when the master comes back to the house, you know, then the children obey. When the master is in, no thieves will come in. Thieves only come in when there's no master there, you see. Or in the old days. Yeah. Today, of course, that analogy doesn't hold as true, but the point is still valid. That when you are aware, then by definition you can't be unaware. Please make a note. All habits, mental habits, which ultimately are the basis of all physical habits, can only function where there's unawareness. Please make a note of that. Please make a note of that. You can have no habits functioning in you where you have awareness. Habits used to be in your awareness, and you establish that group and push them down. So that's why you don't have to think. You get in your car and you drive. You're not even aware of where you're going half the time. You're daydreaming, etc. But the subconscious mind has already been programmed, and you arrive at your destination for most purposes, hell and heartache. All habits can only function where there's unawareness. And why is that important? Because your conditioning, that automatic response that we all have, that we bring to every event. You know, we all have predispositions to behave a certain way. Those are called attitudes. Our attitudes are nothing but our predisposition to react a certain way. These attitudes were formed in our childhood and etc. We all know that. So that whenever an event occurs, we have already predisposed to respond to that event a certain way out of our conditioning, which has been habituated. Freedom means the ability to transcend one's conditioning, which is the same as transcending one's habits. You see, physical, mental, emotional, psychological, across the whole spectrum of our being. So that's very important. All right, let's take another person that did some of the self-observation homework. And let's see what your week of, or a few days of effort yields up. Who was the next one did some counting? You counted? You counted? You counted? Okay, tell us about yours.
Well,
Let me get my bar graph back up here. Should I put a bar graph? We got more than one day. I should be careful here, huh? How many days are we going to put up there? Huh?
6.
6 days, very good. So you started on a Saturday?
Sunday.
No, you started Sunday after supper. All right, so there's Sunday. And here's your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's 6 days?
Yeah.
All right. And what was your first day count?
21.
Okay. Next day?
21.
Next day?
10.
Wow. Man. Okay.
15.
All right.
12.
Okay.
And 23.
And 23.
Man, what happened?
He got into an argument with his wife. I lost his cool.
Oh, man.
All right, but it's interesting. The question is what happened. But you could begin to see how his awareness became a little bit more focused here. A little bit more focused here. He was counting less and less and less and less because he's catching more and more. But then it diffused. It diffused. Was there any particular event that you can share with us that might explain why your awareness got diffused again?
It was the last couple of days, though. I was clicking, but how can I explain? I was not acting out. I was just continuing to click. But the first day, I was actually getting into, I was acting it out more.
You was always follow through, so it's an improvement, really.
Yeah, it was.
Because this came with the whole acting out. Not only did the thought hit you, it went all the way down the system. The thought triggered the emotion, it triggered the behavior. You was gone. Here you pull back some where you're going into these events too, but you were practicing more control.
I was practicing more.
Well, there's no action connected with this one?
Less.
Less actions, okay. So the actions were dropping here. What about on this day?
They were
It's also less,
yeah.
dropping on this day here,
I
you were
was
just more aware, no action.
right. I was still clicking because I was.
All right, so we should have been measuring your actions too. You know what I mean? To get a real good example. Let's reverse this here so that we make sure that we get a clear understanding of the outcome. So here we would say that you had 21 awarenesses, but you couldn't stop it. Went on out. Then here's now your controls start coming, right? And start coming. And here, there was no action.
No action.
So you witnessed 23 risings in you, and you was able to stop it.
Yeah.
I call that success. How hard was it to start controlling that behavior? Was it easier? Were you suppressing it, or were you just watching it Tell me something about
It
it.
was more of a watch. I know it
Just
was.
watching.
I know it was. I was on top of it though.
You was on top of it, right? You saw it coming. And you was able to maintain your balance.
Yeah.
Very good. So I want you to see that we all may approach this Vipassana a little differently, but I can tell you this, it is impossible to do Vipassana and not get some benefit from it. There is no such thing. It is like meditation. There is no bad meditation. All meditation is good because it's moving you closer to that state of self-awareness. The thing I want to emphasize, folks, is that you can't do this just intellectually. This is not a workshop on philosophy. Wrong place, okay? You get no points for knowing the answers, and particularly when those answers not reflected in your life. The stuff that you all are doing, this work and this washing yourself, this is the stuff that has to be done, if you indeed wish to see some outcome. So this is very good. So he was focusing not only on noticing the thoughts, but more important for him was to keep himself from acting on those thoughts, right? If he could just keep himself from really falling into that automatic behavior that is normally associated with that thinking. The first day, the behavior was just automatic. That Vipassana was running. But it must have been shocking, right? Was it shocking to discover how little control you really possessed? You know, because by studying books and going to so many seminars and lectures and full of all our ego mythology, it's very easy to start concluding, therefore, that we are somehow in charge and control. But it's interesting to see, it's very humbling to see that, my God, you know, look at this thing that's going. So that's very good. We'll come back a little later as we move down through the balance of these workshops again and again to this practice. I just wanted to get some of the feedback up and out so that we all can benefit from your work. That is the beauty. When one person does work, we all can benefit from it. You see, that's sharing at the highest possible level, because you are modeling for us the kind of courage that we need to have. Because one of the things that keep people from transforming, actually two things. Either one, they don't know how to do it. They have no methodology. This is the shortcoming of most of the religions in the world today. Christianity and Islam and so many of the organized religion, they have a lot of instructions or shoulds, moral edicts, but they don't have any methodology. You should love your neighbor, but you don't even know how to love your wife. How in the world would you love your neighbor? So that moralize and become meaningless. There is no methodology. There is no yoga. There is no how-to. If it's not the result of one's lack of how-to, of a methodology, then the only other one is fear. Most of us are afraid to change because you become very comfortable where you're at. You see? Fear. That is it. Because this transformation can happen in the twinkling of an eye. It is not the case, folks, that this transformation into the higher dimensions of your being is something that necessarily must take a whole lifetime, or for that matter, many lifetimes. It is simply a question of sincerity, courage, and things of that nature. There have been mystics and sages who have not had to go up into the mountain, have not had to undergo long, arduous sadhana and abhyasa, who were instantly transformed. One of the instances that's come to us of the Sufi Jewish mystic, Sarmat, and Sarmat, whole transformation came through an ecstatic experience while moving through a bazaar one day. He saw the children playing, and he just noticed how beautiful a child is. In that moment, he was able to get a satori. In Zen, we call it satori. He was able to get a glimpse of the beauty of a child, and that one glimpse transformed. You see, know your gods. Just the opening up the availability to the impact of beauty transformed this man. And he, of course, became one of India's greatest mystics and made tremendous contribution to the whole science of spiritual transformation. There's been a woman, Yuku, the Zen master, carrying water one night on a bamboo. You know, in ancient times, they would have the bucket on each side. And walking in from the well one moonlit night, she stepped in, and one of the buckets slips, and it falls to the ground and makes a puddle of water, in which she sees the reflection of the moon. And that one instance, she became enlightened. In Zen, you will find many instances of this kind of enlightenment. Woo-wee, effortless, no effort. But it can only happen to a very rare individual. Most of us don't possess that kind of innocence. It requires a great innocence, which itself is a degree of spiritual attainment already. So unless you're very innocent, don't be going looking at no moon and no water. It's not going to work for you, okay? For you, you're going to have to do abhyasa. You're going to have to do sadhana. Your mind is not so pure. If your mind was pure, you need to do no sadhana. No yoga is required. But our minds are not pure. You see, it has become tainted, dirty, clouded by so much of this garbage that we have taught, and the garbage that other people has put into us. You see. So these are the two things. Swamiji Maharaj, a great Indian guru, says, give up thy fear and do thy devotion. Devotion meaning be the sadhana. Give up your fear. He said, why be afraid of fools who do not know the value of spiritual practice? Why are you afraid? You're afraid because now this person may not understand you, or this person may abandon you, or your wife may disagree, your husband may disagree. And so Jesus said, why be afraid of this fool? This is a fool in the sense that they don't know who they are. That's what a fool is. It has nothing to do with the absence of knowledge or the presence of knowledge. You are a fool if you don't know who you are. And so Maharaj said, why be afraid of these fools? They don't know the value of any spiritual practice. So he says tenderly to us, my dear, give up thy fear and do this spiritual practice. You see? So we have to look at that. We'll have the next exciting episode from last week. You had some homework?
Yes.
All
I
right.
only had 3 days.
That's
because
good
the
enough.
First day I
What
was
day
dealing
did you
with my
start?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
Thursday and Friday.
Tuesday. You skip Wednesday? All right. Wednesday we'll put up.
Yes.
All right. Tuesday.
Wednesday and Friday.
Okay. And what were you watching? What was the nature of your vipassana? Were you, like Sandra, watching for the waves of particular feelings? Sandra was watching for if she felt any depression, if she felt any despair, if she felt, and she had her own definition of the categories of negative feelings because she understood that negative feelings are coming from negative thoughts. So she was looking at her negative things. Sandra presumably wanted the real deal here. You weren't playing around with it. So she was watching this whole phenomena going on. You were watching your behavior. You were watching your action. That's fundamentally. You wanted to see, because that's, you can see. Sometimes the awareness is not increased enough to catch the flow of the thought. But it certainly can catch this body moving. It can catch you throwing a fist at somebody. It can catch you cursing at somebody. It can catch the overt action put in it. So in many schools, the sadhana of the vipassana will be started even at the physical level. So you can start from either end. It doesn't matter. You can start from the physical, you can start from the emotional, you can start from the purely mental. All roads will lead to an increase in self-awareness. And Zen, for instance, the first thing you're taught is simply how to walk. Interesting, isn't it? And the ideal is to walk slow, not in the Jamaican You know what I mean? So, you know, it's not the walk slow that you all know about. It's a real walking slow that leads to enlightenment. Perhaps, in fact, the walk slow of our Jamaican brothers and sisters had an original relationship to the practice of walking in Zen, where you would simply walk and feel every step. Walk very slow and you'll feel every step. You see? The whole attention is in your feet, you know? And they will get so good they could walk across rice paper and don't even tell. You know, so light, stepping so light with so much balance. Then they would practice that, or they would drink the tea, you know, the tea ceremony, you know, where you taste it. Because you don't taste your food. It amazes me. You say, this tastes good. Well, how would you know? You're just gobbling. Your eating is just mechanical. You're not tasting anything. You're just throwing that stuff down. The masters, they know how food tastes because their awareness is there. And so in the tea ceremony, the whole process, just making the tea and tasting the tea. So Zen then has specialized in the building of this self-awareness, starting first with the physical, because that's where we're the closest. So you certainly was representative of that great Zen tradition. My question, of course, now to you, which aspect of your being were you watching? Tell us what you were looking for.
How I felt.
You were looking for your feelings.
Yes, and
What, any particular feelings you were looking for?
well, not really. I felt frustrated
Okay.
when I first started, before I left home. And on my way, when I arrived at work, that's when I have most of my clicks.
Okay, that's
And,
interesting.
I noticed, though, when I would click, it seemed like that particular incident would just leave my mental being.
Yes.
So that was interesting.
Very interesting, wasn't it? Very
So I had 32
32.
for Tuesday.
Okay. 32 for Tuesday.
Wednesday I had 40, and it was because
Well, let's we'll bring this one down. I don't want to be right on this wall. Let me bring this wall. So, all right. So let's say 32, and then on Wednesday you went up to 40.
yeah.
Okay. You didn't go no further than that, did you?
No.
All right. Then on Friday.
10.
Wow. My God. 10.
What happened Wednesday?
And Wednesday, you want to talk about it?
Yeah.
All right, tell us about it. What happened Wednesday to you?
I had a brother that went to visit my parents,
Yes, ma'am.
and on his arrival from Arkansas, he bought some, I wouldn't say unexpected baggage, but he bought some expected baggage back that really bothered me. So I was basically dealing with him and how I felt about him bringing the baggage back. And I just clicked it off, and it worked.
All right. That's
So
great.
that's why it was so high. Each time I thought about what happened and what he did and why, I was trying to justify why he did it.
Yes, yes.
I just clicked it off.
Clicked it off and dropped out of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's how it goes. The thing that when you do the spiritual practice, you begin to see that if you're aware, you can't be angry. Please make a note. When you are at the certain degree of awareness, you cannot have any lust at all. People who suffer from the inability to manage their love suffer simply because they suppress their awareness of the act that they're about to do. You have to shut down intelligence to engage in the activity. You have to shut down conscience, morality, and ethics to engage in the wrong behavior. You have to create in yourself minimum levels of self-awareness to indulge. Because if you become too aware, you cannot do the act. You see, you can't do the act. So lust, greed, nowhere in the world you will fall into the traps of greed once the awareness has reached a certain altitude in the hierarchy of your being. No way. No way to become attached. No way. No way for anger. And this ego, you see, this vanity, this false basis for your pride, ego mythology simply crumbles. Simply crumbles. So this strategy of inducing deeper and deeper states of self-awareness is the panacea, right? And the important thing is for you to have your own experience. My own teacher used to always tell us, don't believe not one single word I have to say on the subject at all. Don't get caught up in any dogma. Don't get caught up in any doctrine. Don't be carried away by any line of reasoning. Right? I used to always say, go with your own experience, but you have to do the work. You have to go into the laboratory with your own being, and then you see whether what Jesus said was correct. See whether Muhammad knew what he was talking about, peace be upon him. See if Mahavira or Krishna or Buddha or Abraham or any of these great mystics, see if they're just talking nonsense or they're telling you the truth. You should do that. There is no other way, though, to validate these great spiritual traditions if you don't do some sadhana. The effort to get you to do sadhana constitutes the whole task of the master. He has no other task, she has no other work. The whole work consists of trying to somehow lure you, manipulate you, and even trickery if necessary, to get you to do the homework. Because there's nothing that anyone can give you at all. You have to get it yourself. The gurus simply point the way. It's over here what you, except pointing out, they point in. They say, what you're looking for is in there. But how to go in there, you don't know. You see? Or you're afraid. And so the whole art of being a master then is to somehow find ways to push people into the laboratory of their own consciousness and their discovery. I'm so happy to see that you all are getting a taste of this thing. And it's really the case, and you can't explain it. You don't need to explain it. In fact, you can't explain it because there are no words for it. There is nothing in the person who has not had an experience of the power of transformation, of just simple awareness. But it's really remarkable when you find yourself able to get in a certain state of awareness, and things that used to tear you up don't tear you up no more. It's a strange thing, but it is a fact. It is absolutely a fact. So we will always be masters of these negative states of mind to the degree that we're able to induce the self-awareness requisite for their appropriate management, or in many instances you'll take away the whole sensation. And the more you practice this sadhana, the more you will see this. Indeed, that is the only purpose, as I said from the top of this workshop, of any of the formal yogas. Whether it's Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is a body work. It's body-based sadhana. In Hatha Yoga, you become very familiar with your body, how it feels. You can feel the chi moving through your body. You can feel where it's blocked and all of these things. When you go into pranayama yoga, breathing yoga, then you can feel where your chakras are blocked. You can feel them. You can feel energy moving into your chakras and all of these things. So those are very, very good body sciences and body approaches. But they all require what? You have to do it. So I will be emphasizing that again and again and again. Sister, what else do you want to tell us about your experience before we move on to Emma? It was really remarkable. I mean, I'm so proud. I mean, that 40 dropping to 10, that is very good work. That is very, very good work.
I notice when I'm dealing with a problem, I get so emotional that I have to give myself a day's rest, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with my husband guiding and helping me,
Mm-hmm.
I can really go back into, working the program.
Yes, yes, yes. And so it's so good when both the male and the female, the man and the woman, are moving toward the same goal of truth. This always creates a very good triangle. And it is this triangle, this pyramid of our ancestors that symbolizes the maximization of the energy between the sexes. So this leads to deep love. You both are moving on the same spiritual path. You have the same thing. So you are a great blessing to each other. You have my admirations and congratulations. In any case, with no further ado, we have Emma now, who's going to really blow our mind with an exciting rendition of her, how many days of Vespasian?
Saturday to Saturday.
Saturday to Saturday.
Yeah.
Like standing around, y'all wasn't playing, were you? Huh? You ladies are not playing.
The only thing is, I didn't break mine down per day.
Okay, can you take a guess?
I
You
could
just took a
guess.
weekly count?
I just counted.
You just counted?
I just counted, but what I did with my count is, I would say after my first day that I started counting, I know on the first day I got 6. I have a total of 22.
A total, okay. What were you counting?
I was
First we have to
counting
understand your
anger.
system.
I was counting
just counting your anger?
I was only counting anger.
Only anger.
Okay, and
Okay.
after my first day, what I started doing, I did a spin, and I started focusing on why I got angry, what was making me angry, what was my root cause. And
Okay.
most of my counts, the root cause of that was unfairness. I
Okay.
felt some kind of way I was being treated unfair.
All right, she did this she put it just a little bit different
And
spin
then,
on it.
and then what I did was I did my early childhood recollections to try to find out where my unfairness
Whoa.
feeling was coming
All right,
from.
now share just a little of that because you got a lot of powerful homework here. First, she was tracking her anger. You can isolate out. You don't need to work on all of them. You can work on one. Work 1 week on your anger, another week on your greed, your lust, your attachments, and things of that nature because you've been thinking maybe you only got anger. No, of course not. You got all of the perversions. We're talking, this is an anger workshop. Perhaps next we'll do a greed, we'll do a lust and so forth, so that you can really get a sense, of the fact that we got all of these things. But Emma broke out her anger thing. And she noticed that on the first day she saw 6. She was just getting into the work.
Yeah.
Tuesday now you start refining this matter, right?
Yeah.
You might have started refining them instantly on
I
this
did
Saturday.
because I got mad 2 times in a row. I did 2 clicks because the first time I got mad the second time because I got mad the first time, which
All
is
right.
kind of crazy.
I like
but
that.
I was saying that I've had all these workshops.
Yeah.
I've got all this information in me. Now something that made me mad. So that's what kind of made me spin
Nah,
off
focus.
because I said I wasn't just going to count anger. I need to
You wanna
go
go
below
focus
it
and good.
because I know I get mad. So that's
So you focused
I already
on the
knew
what?
that. Yeah.
Right.
What is it?
Right, because remember I said there's 2 steps. First, you got to locate the object of your anger, which means you got to be aware of your anger. I hope you were locating the objects of your anger as you did that. You probably can go back and just your recollection and locate it. You need not tell us that you're still fighting with Joe. All right, they'll make fun of you. In any case, you focus on the what part now, because this is now where you're really going for control.
Yeah.
This is where you getting into this thing now. You ready to fix this? Because remember I said one of the objectives is not simply to give you a technique to manage your anger every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not the objective.
Right.
That means every 12 seconds you're going to be angry. That's not high quality life. It is to stop the damage that your out of control rages are causing in your relationship. But the ideal is to start reducing that stuff. Is to have fewer and fewer episodes. Not repress, not suppress. Really deal with it. Transcend it. Get into a state where it doesn't even come near you. You see, anger doesn't even, it just comes just near a Buddha and it moves away from the Buddha. Buddha doesn't have to move his anger. The anger moves itself. It's the difference. You see. So you focused on the what. And what did you find out was the underlying chief characteristic? Gurdjieff, the Sufi mystic from the Caucasus, Gurdjieff and Fidi Alspinski, I don't know if you're familiar with these European mystics, but Gurdjieff used to always say that you have to find your chief characteristic. You got to find your chief characteristic. We all have one. Now, we have also what Gurdjieff call a kunda buffer. I like that term.
What is it?
A kunda buffer. There's something that you put buffer between yourself to keep you from seeing this chief characteristic. The kunda buffers are the things that you put in your mind to perpetuate your self-deception. It buffers you from the reality, of who you are, right? Because they may become too much, right? So these kunda buffers have been placed in all of us psychologically and emotionally. And that way, it's like having shocks on a car, right? You can go over tracks and relatively comfortable, right? So it takes the agony out of it a little bit, but it blocks one from the truth. So Jeff talks about how these kunda buffers very often prohibits us from seeing our chief characteristic. You got to see your chief characteristic. As it relates to anger, you want to see what is that fundamental attitude when violated sends you off. And you said yours was injustice,
Unfairness. Yeah.
unfairness. You just can't help it. That has become part of like the chief characteristic, the lead bead on in your chain of thinking, your basada. When that happens, whoop, everything else become automatic, right? That's the lead in. Very good. So whenever you are having the perception that someone or some event or some circumstance is in an unfair relationship to you, it sets that automatic thinking and emotion. And the thing that has happened in the past is you couldn't even break it. You would just go days. Did you go years sometimes? Days and days and days. But it's interesting. So you saw that. Was doing the Vipassana, were you able to break some of the automaticity of it, the reaction?
Well, I wasn't so much trying to break it.
You were just
I was
exploring.
really trying to count it and really
Observe
see
it.
if it led back to the same
All
place
right.
every time.
Let's see now, when she did her early recollection. Oh, you're learning this stuff. Well, you're doing this thing right. You went back to her early recollection. Is it one you're comfortable with sharing? You need not, because I know these things are of a highly personal nature. But were you able to find an early recollection? Were you able to find?
I found a couple because
Give me the
see,
age.
it was more than one.
All right, give me the age. You don't have to give me the recollection.
I don't remember how old
Just
I
take
was.
a guess. Were you after you started school? Before you started school?
I was in school. I was young,
Were
but I
you-
don't remember age.
So that means you must have been very young. You can't even remember the age, right?
I don't remember like that.
Okay.
I don't focus like that in memory.
All right. Just so give me a guesstimated age,
I would say maybe 7 or 8 because
Alright.
see, I was trying to go back far enough because you were saying before that you pretty much molded by 8.
You pretty much
And
molded
so,
by, in fact, 45.
I could get some out of the teenage years, but then I tried to go back further.
Yeah, you want to go back. But that's called, folks, that technique is called bridging. Please make a note of it. You draw a bridge. In fact, what you can do, you can take that anger episode. This is what you did without even knowing the process. Here you got angry. I'm showing you how this works. What Em is sharing with us is very, very, very cool. Here's the present. And you're having an experience of anger, right? Then you looked at what made you angry, right? You looked at what, you found the object of your anger. You got all of that stuff in place now, right? Now what you want to do, you want to start moving back in time to ground zero, right? And what you do, you focus now, okay, on the feeling. You can't do this intellectually. It's very hard. You focus, you ride the emotion. You take that feeling, you're feeling angry, right? And your anger was just not anger, that's a cover word. I mean, it was made up of a lot of feelings. It was anger, yes, but it was a feeling of worthlessness, a feeling of unimportance. I mean, it was made up of a lot of things, so get in touch with it. Put some awareness on it. Feel it, like the Zen walk. Feel it. Feel it. The Zen Ra said, even locate where it's in you. See where you even feeling it in your body. Is it in your head? Is your anger hit you in the head? Does it hit you in your stomach? Does it hit you in your feet, in your back? Where? Get thoroughly familiar with it. You see, don't critique yourself. This is not about critiquing this. We've already established the fact that our value and worth as human beings is a priori and unconditioned. So you are free now to do this kind of hard, honest investigation without running any risk in losing your self-respect. It ain't even about that. So you can feel into this thing. Get a good focus on this feeling. Focusing has more to do with the feeling. Focus on the feeling. Now, go back in memory. Go back, to the time before this one that you had this same feeling. Identify that feeling back across the spectrum of time. When was the last time I felt this feeling? And just go back. And it may pop up. I was, 16. Then go back a little further. Push it back. Before then, ride that feeling. And you'll wind up somewhere in your childhood, I guarantee you. Right?
Yeah.
You'll reach a point where you can't go any further.
Yeah.
It may be 5, maybe 4. You can't go no further. And there you found it. That was the first time I had this feeling. Like you can trace the first time you had the feeling of sex. You have to do that in your lust work. Right? The moment you became sexually aware, go back, find it. You have to do that. So this is a good kind of practice that you'll find useful as we work through the whole spectrum of these negative things. But you went back to your childhood. Now, take the early recollection of that event and break it down, right? That's what you start doing. You look and see what conclusions you came to about others in that
Others,
recollection.
me, and the world.
That's right, in yourself
Mm-hmm.
and the world.
Yeah.
The world means life.
Right.
And it's particularly these conclusions you come to about the life, about yourself, and about others, because this becomes your philosophy now. Please make a note. Your life mimics your philosophy. Your life mimics your philosophy. You follow your philosophy, not academic philosophy. You're not following your understanding of Kant or Aristotle, or Alfred Whitehead, or whatever. You're not a Hegelian. You follow the philosophy that you formed when you were 4 or 5 years old, that consisted of your conclusion. Then this becomes your whole lifestyle of how you react. And so you see, now, when you examine, Emma, the conclusion that you came to about life in that early recollection, were you able to get some insight?
Yeah.
Huh?
And they spin into other things.
And they spin into other things.
That's
don't they?
right. And where it came from.
Where it came from.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
And
it.
particularly, did you notice the conclusion you came to about yourself in those experiences?
That's
That was
kind of
still a little
hard.
vague.
I'm still
That's all right.
working on that.
That's all right.
Mhm. But I'm seeing what some other things come
But
from.
you're seeing a lot of other things, aren't you? Right? Now, that is also Vipassana. You are increasing your awareness, aren't you? See, that's the point. You're becoming more aware. You're becoming more aware. And when that awareness becomes mature, the behavior drops in and of itself. Just as an apple, when it reaches a certain degree of ripeness, it falls from the tree. You need not pluck. I don't believe in plucking strategies. Maharaji used to always say that this work is like removing a fine piece of muslin cloth from a thorny bush. If you try to snatch it, you will tear that muslin cloth into threads. If you try to snatch yourself out of the clutches of your mind, you will become insane. Please make a note of that. I have to tell you the truth. The path of spirituality is fraught with dangers. It has been said from time immemorial, do not get on this path unless you are under the guidance or the tutelage of a teacher or guru or whatever you want to call it, who has been that way and can take you slowly. You read your books on yoga, and you read your books on philosophy and psychology, and then you try to snatch yourself, and you lose your mind. You tear yourself up. So it's a gradual work. So don't be alarmed by that. Very gently we have to do this. But when the awareness is the gentle way. It is so gentle. Because all I'm saying is become more aware. I'm not asking you to sit in a Padmasana. I'm not asking you to go and meditate for 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm not asking you to do anything. With awareness, I don't even have to ask you to change your diet. Not necessary. Simply observe. The whole practice of vegetarian came out of the raising of awareness. It is when these mystics raise their awareness up, and they begin to become so sensitive, and they can see how certain foods impact their ability to concentrate, that they realize, I can't take this in because this affects my concentration. They're able to connect the effect of food on their minds. They were getting aware of it. That scene, they could feel their whole being. Isn't that an amazing thing? We're talking about just feeling your feet, but what if you could feel your whole body in all of your emotions, in all of your parts? Now you have some concept of a Buddha. Now you have some kind of concept of a Imhotep or a Kakotep or a Chami. You see, now you're coming close to getting an idea of what it means to become Christ-like or to become like Lord Krishna. It is this kind of awareness. It is said, a beautiful story is told about the Buddha. I love this Buddha. You know, I talk so much about Buddha because it is really, I get goose pimples. Just the name rolling across my lips, I just like the way it tastes, in my mouth. The story is told about the Buddha. And his chief disciple was his brother, of all things. Isn't that amazing? It's very rare when you will find in a family where one of the members of a family will acknowledge the spiritual status of a party in that family. Throughout history, you will find that in most cases, it doesn't work like that. A Kabir will have a wife that thinks he's horrible and will do everything she can to interfere. It's very rare. But in this particular case, Buddha's own brother was his chief and most devoted disciple. Ananda was his name. And this Ananda, when the Buddha became enlightened, he knew, recognized, was able to transcend the sibling limitations, right? And recognize this is no more Siddhartha. This is Gautama. This is the Buddha. And he shifted his whole relationship. But before he said, I shift, we got to cut a deal because right now I'm still your big brother. You see, Ananda was Buddha's elder brother. He said, okay, now I'm going to take initiation from you because I recognize, I too can see. I'm not a fool. I'm not going to miss this opportunity to become a Buddha in my own right because of some ego mythology about me being your elder brother. This is nonsense. This Ananda was real. He was authentic to the bone. But he was smart too. So he said to this Buddha, he says, all right, after initiation, you say I'll be your disciple. And I'll have no more influence. I'm willing to accept this. This is a small price to pay. After all, I'm so fortunate to be born into the same family with the Blessed Ones. But before I give up my last distance of influence and power to you, you must grant me 3 boons. And one of the boons that Buddha granted him was that you will never be separated. Only you will have the right to go everywhere I go. If I go to the washroom, you may come. There will never be a time when you will not have full accessibility to me. The other boon that he gave Ananda was that, and whoever you bring to me for initiation, I will initiate straight away. Whether or not they're qualified or not, I myself, out of my own spiritual abundance, will pull this in. You see, and so forth. Powerful boons. I mean, this Ananda got him some good stuff. It is the first boon that is relevant to the story I'm telling you. So Ananda used to go and sleep in the same room as Buddha. He didn't want to miss none of that. And one of the things that he noticed about his brother Buddha was that Buddha didn't sleep like the rest of people. You know how you sleep and we sleep tossing and turning, and some of us is still falling out of the bed, out of the bed at night. You see, Ananda noticed that Buddha would lay down in one position and he would never move at all. He had seen Buddha sit in his, in the now famous Buddha posture for days, but he was attributing that he's meditating, you know what I mean? But tonight he's just laying down sleeping. He's not sitting for Dhammatana. He's just stretched out like, but he does not move. And he was dumbfounded. And so he asked this brother guru of his, he says, Lord, what is this? The third boom, of course, that Ananda granted, the Buddha has to answer any question he asks him. Straight away. He cannot play any games with them. He has to give him the real deal. You see? And he says, how is this possible? And Buddha simply says, because I'm never unaware. I'm always aware. The flame never goes on. I am always aware. When I sleep, I'm not asleep. The body is still. There is no sleep. The awareness is even there in your sleep. You are aware that you are sleeping. Do you understand this? You are aware that you are asleep. Like you're aware you're standing here, and you're aware you're sleeping. I'm standing here. Is you aware that you're talking in the same way? You are aware. The Aboriginal gurus and masters, indigenous to Australia, left a great tradition in their dream work because they took you through the dream. And their first practice was become increasingly aware of your dreams. It will induce the higher state. So that when you can go to sleep and go into a dream and be fully aware that you're in a dream, fully conscious that you're aware, when there is no interruption in your consciousness, in either of the three states of the wakeful state, the sleep with dream, and the deeper dreamless state. When your awareness, that flame, that light never flickers to go out. So that was the secret of the Buddha, you see? So again, I want you to understand when this awareness becomes mature, the behavior it lines up. There is no effort. Maharaji used to call this Sahaj Yoga. Sahaj means easy. This is an easy path. Because this is all you need to do. No austerities, no tapas. You don't have to tear your ears. You don't have to pull your hair out. You don't have to sit in fire. You don't have to sit in snow. Simply become aware. It's a very elegant process, but you have to do it. So Emma, again, you went into this early recollection. You are able to increase your awareness with respect to where this feeling of unfairness is coming from. Because it has really been this feeling of being treated unfair that's just been dogging you all your life. Every day it seems like somebody's doing something to me that is unfair. You go through that automatic reaction, generate the negative emotional state, right? Get locked into it, and now you're just miserable. It seems like I've been miserable since I was 5. Did you discover that this kind of melancholy has been hovering around you ever since you were 4 or 5 years old? You should be tired of that now, right? That's good motivation, isn't it? Right? 40 years of this being under the dictation of this, that's great motivation. You're ready to come out from under this by any means necessary, right? This ego mythology means nothing. You ready to throw your ego mythology out? You just want some relief. Yeah. You don't care about no ego no more. You see? And that's the way we go with that. And that's the way we go. What else did you do?
And also I wanted to look at it in an adult's eye. Because like you said, when we're little like that, we make those summations when we're at the age that it happens. Mm-hmm. And it stays with us. But really to break the cycle, you have to look at that same incident in an adult's eye and put it in perspective.
That's right. Absolutely. And that's called editing. And nothing more needs to be done.
Yeah.
With your self-awareness, you will automatically edit and adjust your behavior. If I'm aware and I'm walking and I see a hole, I just step around it. What is the yoga involved in that? To step over a hole. How many books do you need to read? any, you need to see. And in India, the word for meditation is called dhyan. It's translated as meditation, but that is not a very good translation. The correct translation of dhyana is see. To see. To have dhyan means to see. To be able to see. That's it. So this dhyan, this ability to see, is all that is required. And this is, again, just awareness. It's nothing but awareness. To become a seer is simply to become aware. That's what a seer is. Someone who can see. Someone who is aware. And you become aware. So, out of that seeing now, it is not difficult to edit. No more difficult to edit and alter the behavior than it is when you see a hole to step over it. Now, there's no effort in that. None at all. There's no strain, no tricks, no mirror, no anything, but you must be able to see. Whether anything else that you, and you had a lot of that, I wish we had more time to process that. You know, because I'm sure you immediately start getting some relief. Did you have the aha experience, I call it? Aha! Discovery. Aha! When you start getting those, aha, right? The eurekas, right? Of Erasmus, the eureka. Aha! That's the feeling. That's what it feels like when the awareness increases. You feel that aha. Caught it. Huh? Isn't that true, Sandra? Do you feel some of that aha happening to you? Aha! You know, I got you. It's beautiful. And that's a feeling of relief. You don't feel so dominated. You don't feel so helpless in the face of this kind of thinking and emoting that is going on in you. You feel that you got a choice in the matter. You can do something about this. You can choose. It might be practical, let me, get a little angry, right? But you can always stop instead of anger. You can use the anger as you see fit. Remember, I didn't ever say that anger is bad per se. I said it's the mismanagement of it. I told you many times it has a legitimate purpose. And you may have to show some anger at your children because they don't understand a rational thing, right? They don't understand no long explanation. You have to show some anger, right? But then you can retreat it.
Yeah, that's what I did one time.
Okay.
While I was I had got real mad at one of my kids.
Okay.
And so I said, I'm not going to carry that. I'm going to address it. And then that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I got it off, and I felt better.
Felt immediately better.
Yeah.
Relief from all that pressure.
Yes, because
Right.
I said there are times when you may need that to get a point across.
Of course.
Yeah.
To emphasize a point.
Yeah.
Remember, the children, when they are small, they are in the state of an animal. Please make a note of that. I'm telling you a great secret, parents. They are in the state of animal. That reticular complex there. You got to get them like that. That's where you got to hit them. There is none of that upper brain development. The intellect don't even develop, don't even open up. It's not even available for your discourse until the kid is 16 years old. To whom are you discoursing and philosophizing? So you have to use very basic techniques for parenting. And so with that, we're going to start, we started a little late here. I'm going to examine for the next 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, then we'll take our break. But we're going to look at this whole business of managing anger now in Pacific context. First, we're going to look at it in parenting. So I guess I should title this more appropriately, Managing Your Anger at Your Kids. Okay? These are areas you need to manage your anger. Are you going to get angry at your children? Yes. Everybody can say yes to that. Well, we're probably all in agreement on this, right? And how you manage that anger at your child will determine not only your mental and emotional health and psychological health, it will determine theirs as well, wouldn't it? So it's very important for both people here. And you have to remember that in the first bonding cycle of the child, it's always with the mother. Always with the mother. And the mother therefore has to give that child some very fundamental experiences. And very often if the mother misses, that child will move through the rest of his developmental stages handicapped with a big gaping hole that is irreparable. To be a mother is to be a magnificent. To be a mother that will give. You know what I mean? Requires maximum intelligence. Far more than us men. We need not be so intelligent. Usually we are not so intelligent. But this mother, this is the first guru. What we call the Mahaguru, the great guru. You see. That's why it was so important in the ancient African tradition. The relationship of that child, particularly the male child, to the mother was like that of a disciple to a guru. And it was clearly understood. Before your mother died, you had to seek her forgiveness. It was understood, two things impossible to do in life. If someone comes and they tell me, Bhagwan, you know, I think I can jump off of the Sears Tower and be unscathed and I won't break a single leg, I'm going to have a lot of doubt with that. And I'm going to tell the man, don't do that. You will be dead. The law of gravity at such height, man, there's a few calculations I can show you. I can give you the calculus of it and tell you how many pieces you will be busting into. Please, but still somewhere in the back of my mind, I reserve a possibility that you will die. But way in the back, you see, if someone comes and says, well, but one, I can swim the Pacific Ocean from shore to shore, you know, without stopping, for any rest, any water, any food, I will have a lot of doubt about that. And I will be very tempted to tell the man, this is impossible. This cannot be done. Don't even try it. You know, you'll be packaged with some tuna fish on some store shelf, you know, in a matter of weeks, because one of these fish is going to get you. But again, in that same back corner of my mind, where I put the possibility of the guy surviving a leap from the Sears Tower, I would place this way. Because really, in logic we learn, well, nothing's impossible. So it's just out of the spirit of science now, you know, that I gratuitously confer on these individuals a possibilities that they could do these tasks. But the mystics and saints said that there are two things that are for sure impossible. About that, there is no exception, there is no scientific exception to it. The one is to repay your creator. Absolutely impossible. There is no amount of prayer you can do, no amount of worship you can do, no amount of yoga you can do, no amount of charity you can do. There is nothing that you can possibly do from the human side to ever repay that which has created you. Impossible. Can't be done. You can love, yes, but you can't repay. You can't wipe out your indebtedness to your creator. The second thing is the mother. Nobody could ever repay their mother. Period. In the ancient culture, this was clearly understood. So before your mother would die, before your Mahaguru would die, the idea was to catch her on her deathbed, because you don't want to carry this karma around. You understand the law of karma, right? And you have to go to her and catch her and have her forgive you your debts. There was no other. And there still is no other. Period. Because, please make a note, your mother, now I'm talking about normal mothers, you understand? I'm not talking about that caricature that is passing for mother these days. Your mother, the love of the mother is always greater than the child love for the mother. You love your children more than your children will love you. This is deep. This is deep. Just as your mother loved you more than you love her. No matter how much you think you love them, it pales in comparison. So when we start talking about these things, I don't ever want there to be a question about the sincerity of the effort to be a parent. This is not the issue here. I am simply want to point out to you how by mismanaging one's anger at one's kids, one can interrupt, right? One can deprive themselves of this sacred relationship that we have as parents to the children. So on that note, let us take us a break, our traditional break, and then we'll resume and we'll begin to look at that. And if we have time, we're going to